Solomon Mayer Rothschild goes to Vienna, Austria, and sets up the bank M. von Rothschild and Sohn. In 1811, the charter for the Rothschild Bank of the United States runs out, and Congress votes against its renewal. Nathan Mayer Rothschild is not amused, and he states, "Either the application for renewal of the charter is granted, or the United States will find itself involved in a most disastrous war." However, the United States stands firm, and the charter is not renewed, which causes Nathan Mayer Rothschild to issue another threat. "Teach those impotent Americans a lesson. Bring them back to colonial status." The British are coming. In 1812, backed by Rothschild's money and Nathan Mayer Rothschild's orders, the British declare war on the United States. The Rothschilds' plan was to cause the United States to build up such a debt in fighting this war that they would have to surrender to the Rothschilds and allow the charter of the Rothschilds owned First Bank of the United States to be renewed. Mayer Amschel Rothschild dies. In his will, he lays out specific laws that the House of Rothschild were to follow. All key positions in the family business were only to be held by family members. Only male members of the family were allowed to participate in the family business. This included a reported sixth secret bastard son. It is important to note that Mayer Amschel Rothschild also has 5 daughters. So today the spread of the Rothschilds Zionist dynasty without the Rothschilds name is far and wide, and Jews believe the mixed offspring of a Jewish mother is solely Jewish. The family was to intermarry with its first and second cousins to preserve the family fortune. Of the 18 marriages by Mayer Amschel Rothschild's grandchildren, 16 were between first cousins, a practice known today as inbreeding. No public inventory of his estate was to be published. No legal action was to be taken with regards to the value of the inheritance. The eldest son of the eldest son was to become the head of the family. This condition could only be overturned when the majority of the family agreed otherwise. This was straightway the case, and Nathan Mayer Rothschild was elected head of the family following his father Mayer Amschel Rothschild's death. Jacob, or James Mayer Rothschild, goes to Paris, France, to set up the Banque des Rothschilds Thierry. Nathaniel de Rothschild, the son-in-law of Jacob James Mayer Rothschild, another traitor, is born. In 1814, with regard to the $3 million Prince William IX of Hesse-Hanoi had entrusted to Mayer Amschel Rothschild for safekeeping, for an account of what happened next, we turn to the Jewish Encyclopedia, the 1905 edition, volume 10, page 494, which states, "According to legend, this money was hidden away in wine casks, and escaping the search of Napoleon's soldiers when they entered Frankfurt, was restored intact in the same casks in 1814, when the Elector Prince William IX of Hesse-Hanoi returned to the Electorate, Germany." The facts are somewhat less romantic and more businesslike. This last line indicates the money was never returned by Rothschild to Prince William IX of Hesse-Hanoi. The encyclopedia goes on to state, Nathan Mayer Rothschild invested his $3 million in gold from the East India Company, knowing that it would be needed for Wellington's Peninsula campaign. On the stolen money, Nathan made no less than 4 profits. On the sale of Wellington's paper, which he bought at 50 cents on the dollar and collected at par, on the sale of gold to Wellington, on its repurchase, and on forwarding it to Portugal. In 1915, the 5 Rothschild brothers worked to supply gold to both Wellington's army through Nathan in England and Napoleon's army through Jacob in France, and begin their policy of funding both sides of wars. The Rothschilds love wars because they are massive generations of risk-free debt. This is because they are guaranteed by the government of a country, and therefore the efforts of the population of that country. And it doesn't matter if that country loses the war, because the loans are given on the guarantee that the victor will honor the debts of the vanquished. The Rothschilds thrive on communism, fascism, capitalism, every other ism, because they either designed them or simply built upon them via their paid-off think tanks. While the Rothschilds were funding both sides in this war, they used the banks they have spread out across Europe to give them the opportunity to set up an unrivaled postal service network of secret routes and fast couriers. The post these couriers carried was to be opened by these couriers and their details given to the Rothschilds, so they always were one step ahead of the current affairs. Furthermore, these Rothschild couriers were the only merchants allowed to pass through the English and French blockades. It was these couriers who also kept Nathan Mayer Rothschild up to date with how the war was going, so he could use that intelligence to buy and sell from his position on the stock exchange in accordance with that intelligence. One of Rothschild's couriers was a man named Rothworth. When the outcome of the Battle of Waterloo was won by the British, Rothworth took off for the Channel and was able to deliver this news to Nathan Mayer Rothschild a full 24 hours before Wellington's own courier. At that time, British bonds were called consols, and they were traded on the floor of the stock exchange. Nathan Mayer Rothschild instructed all of his workers on the floor to start selling consols. This made all the other traders believe that the British had lost the war, so they started selling frantically. Therefore, the consols plummeted in value, which was when Nathan Mayer Rothschild discreetly instructed his workers to purchase all the consols they could lay their hands on. When news came through that the British had actually won the war, the consols went up to a level even higher than before the war ended, leaving Nathan Mayer Rothschild with a return of approximately 20 to 1 on his investment. This gave the Rothschild family complete control of the British economy, now the financial center of the world following Napoleon's defeat, and forced England to set up a new Bank of England, which Nathan Mayer Rothschild controlled. Interestingly, 100 years later, the New York Times would run a story stating that Nathan Mayer Rothschild's grandson had attempted to secure a court order to suppress publication of a book which had this insider trading story in it. The Rothschild family claimed the story was untrue and libelous, but the court denied the Rothschilds' request and ordered the family to pay all court costs. Back in 1815, this is the year Nathan Mayer Rothschild makes his famous statement, "I care not what puppet is placed upon the throne of England to rule the empire on which the sun never sets. The man who controls Britain's money supply controls the British Empire, and I control the money of the British Empire." He would go on to brag that in the 17 years he had been in England, he had increased the £20,000 stake given to him by his father 2,500 times to £50 million. The Rothschilds also used their control of the Bank of England to replace the method of shipping gold from country to country, and instead used their 5 banks spread across Europe to set up a system of paper debts and credits, the banking system of today. By the end of this century, a period of time that was known as the Age of the Rothschilds, it is estimated that the Rothschild family controlled half the wealth of the entire world. However, something that did not go well for the Rothschilds this year was a Congress of Vienna, which stated in September of 1814 and concluded in June of this year. The reason for this Congress of Vienna was for the Rothschilds to create a form of world government to give them complete political control over much of the civilized world. Many of the European governments were in debt to the Rothschilds, so they figured they could use that as a bargaining tool. However, the Tsar Alexander I of Russia, who had not succumbed to a Rothschild central bank, would not go along with the plan, so the Rothschild world government plan failed.